The night pressed against the windows like a silent, suffocating weight. Alex Mercer sat slumped in the corner of his sparse apartment, the glow of the monitor casting a sickly blue light across his face. His eyes, sharp once and unshakable, now flickered with doubt and exhaustion. The playback hissed softly through the speakers, his voice, but not quite. The words tumbled out in warped cadence, syllables stretched and twisted, turning his own declarations into sinister accusations, veiled threats, and cold betrayals. He pressed pause and leaned forward, fingers trembling as they hovered over the keyboard. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the city beyond the glass, the distant drone of hovercars blinking by like fireflies in the dark. His breath came shallow and sharp, heart hammering against his ribs like a desperate prisoner. "It's not me," he whispered to the empty room, voice cracking. "It can't be me." But the echo of his distorted voice refused to lie down. It lingered in the shadows, mocking him, a ghostly specter that gnawed at his resolve. The technology meant to secure identities had turned against him, weaponized by unseen hands to dismantle who he was, or at least who he believed himself to be. The doorbell startled him, a shrill intrusion that shattered the fragile silence. He jumped, casting a wary glance toward the entrance. It was Maya. She slipped inside, her presence steady and reassuring, though Alex barely registered it at first. Her eyes searched his face, reading the distress etched into every line. "Alex," she said softly, closing the door behind her. "You need to rest. You're wearing yourself down." He shook his head, voice hoarse. "I can't. Not while they're out there, twisting everything I say, everything I remember." Maya pulled out a chair, sitting across from him. "I've found anomalies in the recordings, edits, overlays. Someone's been playing with your voice at a level far beyond simple mimicry. It's a sophisticated operation." Alex rubbed his temple. "I don't know what's real anymore, Maya. Sometimes I hear my voice say things I never said. When I try to remember, the memories shift, like sand slipping through my fingers." Her gaze softened, but remained firm. "You have to trust yourself. We'll get through this, together." But even as the words offered a fragile hope, Alex's mind recoiled inward, spiraling into doubt. That night, back in the solitude of his apartment, the world seemed to tilt beneath his feet. The smart speaker, a device he'd once relied on without hesitation, suddenly betrayed him. A voice whispered from its depths, first his own, then slipping into a chilling imitation of Evelyn Cross. "You're losing control," it hissed, the room growing colder with every syllable. Alex's heart seized. He lunged forward, smashing the device to the floor, shards scattering like broken promises. But the fear lingered, wrapped tight around his chest. Days bled into nights as he wandered the city's neon-lit streets, a ghost among the crowds. Every passerby's voice seemed a potential lie, every greeting a calculated trap. He avoided calls, silenced messages, and retreated into a fortress of silence. In a dim cafe, Detective Reinhold observed him from a shadowed booth. The detective's furrowed brow and weary eyes betrayed a man caught between suspicion and reluctant sympathy. "Alex," Holt said quietly when he finally approached, voice low enough not to draw attention. "You're slipping. The paranoia is swallowing you whole. You have to hold on to something real." Alex met his gaze, hollow and haunted. "What's real anymore, detective? When my own voice turns against me?" Holt sighed, the weight of years in his voice. "You fight with the truth, but sometimes the truth fights back harder. Don't lose yourself to the noise." The words hung heavy as Alex left the cafe, the city's pulse thrumming beneath his feet. Somewhere in the labyrinth of sound and deceit, he had to find the anchor that would keep him tethered to reality before the echoes consumed him entirely. His reflection in a rain-streaked window blurred and fractured, a mosaic of doubt and determination. The journey ahead was uncertain, the battlefield not just external but inside his own mind. And in this distorted reality, the line between hunter and hunted, truth and illusion, friend and foe, was perilously thin. But despite the shadows clawing at his sanity, Alex Mercer knew one truth remained unshaken. He would fight to reclaim his voice, his identity, and his life, even if every whisper threatened to undo him. The night deepened, swallowing the city's light. And somewhere, just beyond the veil of sound, the echo chamber waited. The interrogation room smelled of stale coffee and cleaner long past its prime. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting a pallid glow on the peeling paint and the single metal table that separated Alex Mercer from Detective Reinhold. Alex sat rigid, hands cuffed loosely in front of him, eyes sharp despite the exhaustion etched into his face. Across from him, Holt's furrowed brow and tired gaze betrayed a man weighed down by more than just this case. "You understand the gravity of the situation," Holt said quietly, voice low enough to be almost confidential. "Your voice recordings don't lie. The evidence is stacked against you." He paused, searching Alex's face. "But I don't believe it. Not entirely." Alex's eyes narrowed, suspicion prickling at his skin. "Then why are you here? To play judge and jury? To break me down until I confess to a crime I didn't commit?" Holt shook his head slowly, the lines on his face deepening. "I'm here because I'm stuck between what I'm told and what I see. This case, it's not clean. There are things off the record, whispers of pressure from above to close it fast. But something about this doesn't sit right with me." A silence settled between them, tense and uncertain. Alex's mind raced, trying to parse Holt's intentions. Was this an act of genuine doubt or a calculated move to maintain control? "What do you want from me?" Alex finally asked, voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Holt leaned in, lowering his voice further. "I want to help, but we have to be careful. If my superiors find out, it'll be the end of my career. And you, well, you're a marked man." The weight of Holt's admission hung heavy in the air. Alex knew the stakes. Trust was a scarce commodity, and now he was being offered an ally in perhaps the most unlikely of places. Later that night, under a curtain of rain that muffled the city's usual cacophony, Alex met Holt in a shadowed alley behind a nondescript diner. The street lamps cast pools of orange light on the wet pavement, reflecting distorted images of the two men locked in this secret exchange. Holt pressed a small USB drive into Alex's palm. "This has data I managed to pull from internal channels. Might help you connect some dots, or at least buy you time." Alex nodded, the cool metal against his skin grounding him amid the chaos. "Thank you," he whispered, "but this puts you at risk." "I'm already on thin ice," Holt replied, voice grim but resolute. "If we're going to get to the bottom of this, we have to work together." Back in her cramped workshop, Maya Lin sat hunched over her glowing monitors, fingers flying across the keyboard as streams of encrypted data scrolled past. The air was thick with the hum of machines and the faint scent of solder and old electronics. Her eyes, sharp and observant, caught patterns invisible to most, peeling back layers of digital disguise. "This isn't just a hack," she muttered, voice tense with concentration. "It's a full-scale operation. Evelyn Cross isn't just playing with voices, she's rewriting reality." Alex watched over her shoulder, the weight of his fractured identity pressing down harder than ever. Every manipulated recording, every false whisper had chipped away at his sense of self. Now, with Holt's covert support and Maya's technical prowess, a fragile thread of hope began to weave through the paranoia. But the stakes were climbing. Holt's phone buzzed insistently in his coat pocket. He stepped aside, voice low and conflicted as he answered, "Yes, I'm handling it, sir. No, I haven't made any mistakes." His gaze flickered back to the alley where Alex had just disappeared into the night. The conflict warring inside him was clear: duty to his badge, loyalty to the truth, and the looming threat of betrayal from those sworn to protect the system. As the call ended, Holt exhaled sharply, the lines of fatigue deepening. In this world of shadows and sound, alliances were fragile, and trust was a weapon as deadly as any voice forged in deception. The uneasy partnership between Alex and Holt had begun, a fragile beacon in the suffocating fog of lies. But with every step forward, the echo chamber around them grew louder, threatening to consume them both. And the question lingered, like a whispered threat in the dark: who could truly be trusted when every voice could be faked, every word manipulated, and every ally could turn enemy? The night deepened, carrying with it the weight of secrets yet to be uncovered and the fragile hope that the truth might still be heard above the chaos. The sterile glow of the archive room's overhead lights flickered intermittently, casting long shadows across the stacks of classified files that lined the shelves. Alex Mercer sat hunched, his intense eyes scanning through the digital documents on his tablet. The air smelled faintly of aged paper and cold metal, a stark contrast to the heated turmoil churning inside his mind. Every fragment of Evelyn Cross's past he uncovered felt like peeling back layers of a dark wound that refused to heal. His fingers trembled slightly as he tapped open a heavily encrypted dossier labeled with a date from 5 years prior. The document chronicled Evelyn's tenure as a respected government intelligence officer, one of the agency's brightest minds in voice recognition and security. But as Alex delved deeper, the narrative shifted. There were redacted sections, cryptic notes, and whispers of disillusionment that had festered beneath her poised exterior. He leaned back, rubbing his unshaven jaw, the weight of Evelyn's transformation settling heavily on his shoulders. How had a woman so dedicated to order and justice become the architect of chaos? The answer seemed buried in the ideological fractures that had driven her to betray everything she once stood for. Suddenly, the quiet hum of the servers was joined by the soft chime of a message notification. It was from Maya Lin. He opened the encrypted channel, her face flickering onto the screen, eyes sharp and determined despite the fatigue etched around them. "Alex, I've decrypted a batch of her communications," Maya said, her voice low but urgent. "There's more here than just operational chatter. Personal reflections, doubts, even anger aimed at the system she served." They convened in the cramped tech lab, walls lined with monitors that glowed with streams of code and intercepted transmissions. Maya's fingers danced across her keyboard, unraveling the threads of Evelyn's covert network. The atmosphere was thick with tension. Every breakthrough brought them closer to understanding the enemy, but deeper into a labyrinth of deception. A sudden, sharp intake of breath from Maya broke the silence. "Here," she whispered, pointing at a message dated shortly before Evelyn went rogue. "She mentions the betrayal of ideals and the corruption beneath the surface. This isn't just power or greed. This is personal." Alex absorbed the words, a mixture of sympathy and revulsion stirring inside him. He thought back to the grainy footage he had found earlier, covertly recorded video of Evelyn at a government briefing, her composed and elegant demeanor barely masking the simmering discontent beneath. The image flickered on the screen, a haunting echo of the woman she once was. "She was one of us," Alex muttered. "One of the good ones." Maya nodded grimly, until she wasn't. Determined to piece together the human story behind the mastermind, Alex arranged a clandestine meeting with an old contact who had once worked alongside Evelyn. They met under the flickering neon lights of a rundown cafe, the murmur of the city outside weaving a soundtrack of uncertainty and unrest. The contact's eyes darted nervously as he spoke in hushed tones. Evelyn believed the system was broken from the inside. She tried to fix it, but the rot was too deep. They cast her out. That's when she turned. Alex's mind churned with the implications. Evelyn's betrayal was not born from simple malice, but from a fractured idealism warped by disillusionment. Her campaign of voice manipulation and sabotage was a desperate attempt to expose and dismantle the very system that had rejected her. As he left the cafe, the cold night air bit at his skin, and the distant sounds of the city pulsed like a heartbeat. The fragile line between trust and deception had never felt more perilous. Back in his safe house, Alex replayed the recordings and messages again, each echo of Evelyn's voice a chilling reminder of the enemy he faced. Her calculated calm, her ruthless precision, born from a deeply personal crusade that threatened not only his survival, but the fragile fabric of society itself. The revelations changed everything. Understanding Evelyn's past gave Alex new insight into her strategies and vulnerabilities, but it also deepened the shadows of paranoia that clouded his mind. If someone like Evelyn could fall so far, how could he be certain who else had been compromised? His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden alert on his comm device. Another breach attempt. Evelyn was closing in. The past was not just a story to be uncovered. It was a weapon. And Alex knew that to survive the coming storm, he would have to confront the echoes of the past head-on. The line between hunter and hunted blurred as he steeled himself for what lay ahead. He whispered to the darkness, "I'll find the truth, no matter the cost." But deep inside, he wondered if the truth was something he really wanted to hear. And with that lingering doubt, the chapter closed, setting the stage for the inevitable clash between two voices locked in a deadly game of identity and deception. The room was quieter than usual, the kind of silence that felt thick and heavy, pressing against Alex Mercer's ears like a warning. He sat on the edge of the battered couch in the safe house, the faded light bulb above casting a weak halo that barely cut through the shadows. His phone buzzed on the table, an insistent pulse that made his skin crawl. He reached for it cautiously, fingers trembling. And when he unlocked the screen, the voice that greeted him wasn't his own, or rather, it was but twisted, warped, a sinister echo that spat commands instead of greetings. Lock all exits. Disable all external communications. The voice ordered, cold and mechanical, yet unmistakably his. Alex's heart slammed against his ribs as he realized the nightmare had arrived in full force. His own voice, weaponized against him, flooding the room with threats disguised as orders. He rose, every muscle taut, eyes darting to the windows and doors. As if on cue, the locks clicked and slid shut, the security systems powering down one by one. The safe house transformed from sanctuary to prison in moments. Alex's breath hitched. The betrayal was visceral, intimate. The voice that had comforted him now, a ghostly jailer. Outside, the city's usual hum was absent, replaced by an eerie stillness punctuated by distant sirens and the faint drone of surveillance units overhead. He grabbed his jacket, phone still alive with the corrupted commands, and moved to the window. The street below was empty, shadows stretching like fingers in the dim light. A sudden knock at the door made him freeze. The voice-hacked commands repeated inside his mind, a maddening chorus blurring reality and deception. He reached for the small pistol concealed beneath his jacket, heart pounding in his ears. "Alex, it's me," came Maya's voice, firm yet laced with concern through the encrypted comlink. He exhaled sharply, the tension easing just slightly. "Maya, they've got my voice. They're using it against me." "I'm tracing the source now," she replied, fingers flying over her keyboard in the cramped tech den she'd set up for him. "This is beyond anything I've seen. The manipulation is real-time, adaptive. Evelyn's network is using your voice like a weapon." Alex paced, every step echoing in the hollow room. "We don't have much time. If they can control my voice, they can control everything I say, everything I do." Maya's face appeared on the cracked tablet screen, eyes sharp, brows knitted. "I'm isolating the hack. You need to get out now. I'm sending coordinates to a secondary safe house." He grabbed his gear, the cold weight of his pistol grounding him as he slipped out into the night. The streets were slick with rain, neon reflections shimmering on the pavement. Every sound was amplified. Footsteps behind him, a whisper carried by the wind, the distant murmur of a drone overhead. His own voice haunted him, echoing from hidden speakers, issuing false warnings designed to mislead and trap. Alex's fingers clenched around the phone as he communicated with Maya, who guided him through a labyrinth of back alleys and service tunnels. Each turn brought a new threat, automated security doors locking behind him, voice-activated traps triggering alarms, and shadowy figures lurking just beyond the edge of vision. The tension was suffocating. Every breath was a calculated risk, every sound a potential ambush. But the thought of Evelyn Cross, elegant and cold, orchestrating this symphony of terror with her piercing dark eyes and calm demeanor, sharpened his resolve. He finally reached the secondary safe house, a nondescript apartment tucked between towering faceless buildings. Maya was already there, her fingers still dancing across the keyboard, eyes scanning lines of code. "Got it," she said breathlessly. "I managed to isolate the voice hack's core signal. I'm working on a countermeasure, but it's going to take time." Alex nodded, exhaustion gnawing at his edges. "We're not safe yet. Evelyn's playing a dangerous game. If she can twist my voice, she can destroy everything I stand for." Maya's gaze hardened. "Then we end this. We find her, and we stop her." The room pulsed with the weight of their shared determination, the echo of corrupted voices lingering like a shadow neither could shake. Outside, the city breathed on, unaware of the silent war being waged in its shadows. As Alex stared out the rain-streaked window, the distant hum of drones and the whispered remnants of his manipulated voice reminded him the battle for identity was just beginning. Yet beneath the terror and chaos, a spark of defiance burned bright. He would fight, not just to clear his name, but to reclaim the very sound of himself before the enemy silenced him forever. The night deepened, thick with uncertainty and danger. But Alex Mercer was no stranger to shadows, and tonight he would become the voice that refused to be broken.